Good morning, legends and super legends. I don't know if you can see my brother there. We're ready to rock. It's time to rock. What else is there to do? Let's do this, man.
Time. Yeah, 6:40.
Let's go.
On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton. We took the long way on our warm-up. We rolled into the Woodlands. There was a big turnout today. After we hooked up with Team RR, we headed out on 1488. Very fast pace. Went into Mount Magnolia. On 149, Mark had a flat, so we continued spinning. We resumed filming on Jackson Road. Lots of attacks all the way into Dobbins. And we turned the camera off once we got to Mount Mariah Road. We left the group. They stopped at a store and we rode up past Dacus into the forest there. We took Taliaferro Road and we went down on Bays Chapel Road. Ended up going into Richards, Texas there. Came back down 1486. It was very breezy. It's an overcast day. It was kind of mild, a bit muggy, but it was about 24 Celsius by the time we got to the end of the ride. We cut back through Gary. All of that's off camera. We visited a neighborhood over there where you saw that little circle. Came past Keenan on Honia Egypt Road back into the Woodlands. I think you will enjoy the clips that we got for you. There's a lot of action. It kind of shows you how to respond in a fast-paced group.
All right, legends. We're at Lake Woodlands Drive. We're getting ready to go.
It's about 7:20 a.m. Very overcast day. It says 18 Celsius. It's a warm 18 Celsius. So no base layer today, just we're wearing the Rafa Aero jersey. We have plenty of time today, so we took the long way to the Crust Pizza meeting place with Team RR. We're heading toward the golf course here. We end up getting there a bit early, so when we got closer, we took a slight roundabout way. We didn't go straight to Research Forest, but we got a nice surprise this morning. Paul H, one of our senior riders in the group, who was hit by our car 3 months ago, is recovering well, and he showed up on his bike. He didn't come to ride with us. He just came to see everybody, so we get a chance to chat with him. You'll see that. It was great to see him. He explained that his biggest challenge has been the healing of his hand. You know, he says it took a while before he could even bend his fingers. There are people running, walking, doing whatever in this area here early in the morning. So you see them on the right there. You want to give them plenty of room. There's no reason to pass close to them. So I used the mirror and gave them plenty of room to let Paul know that they were there. I'm keeping my cadence up because we're going into a little bit of a breeze here. It just ended up being a breezy day. More runners on the right there. Whenever you have a lot of fronts in the area, like, you know, it's cool this time of year, and then the Gulf tries to take over, so you got a lot of what I call blustery conditions. So it's breezy. So whenever it's breezy, I try to make sure I keep my cadence up, especially early in the day. We've got a long day ahead. And that's the way you should look, regardless of, I'm spinning in the upper 90s, now it's going down because we're going up this little grade. I'm not even changing the gear. I'm just staying in the same gear and allow the cadence to drop probably a few, maybe about 6 or 7 RPMs. Now I drop more here. But when your cadence is already up, you have more range. You can play with that gear. You can decide whether you want to push or even downshift, if that. But what I was going to say is that when you're fitted with your bike, you shouldn't look much different when you increase your cadence versus when it's maybe in the 80s and so forth. Bouncing usually comes from an ill-fitted bike and unprepared neuromuscular system. What I mean is, if you have not trained your body to tolerate that range, there's a tendency that when you get to the top of your limit, then you bounce. It's just a slight slope here. So we have about 10 minutes before the group leaves. They leave at 7:35. It's 7:26 and they're about a kilometer away. So we're going to turn here after that car goes by, and we're going to go straight instead of turning right at the next intersection, which is the most direct route. To both get some extra Ks and to not have to stand in the parking lot too long. So we'll end up getting there right around 7:30. This is Kirkendall Boulevard we're approaching. Usually we turn right when we don't have enough time. I told them we got 9 minutes before they leave. And we're just around the block. So at this point we finished our extra loops. It's 7:30 on the nose and we roll in, and it's a big turnout.
Oh, wow. Hey, good morning, guys. Good morning. Good morning.
There's Paul H.
Oh.
You have been putting some miles in.
Hi, man.
Hey,
how are
morning,
you?
Man.
Good morning. Hey, man. Good to see you,
Every
too.
time I look, it's 100 miles for you. I mean, you're
yeah, well,
Paul
I
asked
ride
me if
where
I can keep
and
up.
Eldred. Can you keep up with this guy now?
I didn't know. I was taken by surprise. I didn't even know what answer to give him.
Recover. I mean, I'm not going to ride with you guys, but I just came up to say hi. I just started a week ago back on the bike, so hands healed enough to shift.
Okay.
So don't recover pretty good.
Good.
That's amazing.
That's pretty quick.
That is incredible.
Because this was just a couple of months.
3.
Well, yeah. I mean, the surgery was middle of January.
Yeah.
Some driver cut in front of
The
him.
crash was December 20th.
Yeah. So if you that's quick.
It is quick.
Because I need at least 12 weeks when I hurt anything.
Well, the hands don't heal. They just don't heal.
Yeah, his biggest thing he said is hands.
But anyway, good to see you guys.
Man, good to see you, man.
No.
That's Dan here. This is.
Man, good to see you.
We have several Dans.
All right.
Dan the man is right there, and there's another Dan Jaworski in the green. You'll see his styling. His bar tape matches his shoes. It really pops, and on a day like this, it's very visible.
Jackson, take a right on 1486. We'll be going
That's
out Mount
Mark.
Mariah, which is, if you haven't been on it, it's now all repaved. We'll take a left on 1097 and stop at Jorge's. That's the first stop in Dacus.
Jorge's is a little store in Davis.
1486, thank you. Then we'll go out Bethel just a little. We'll go out Johnson a little bit, take a left on Bethel and do the Gorilla Loop. And that'll take us out on 1097. We'll turn right and start heading home. 65 miles.
I don't understand Gorilla Loop.
Gorilla Loop is called the Gorilla Loop because it's a stretch of Bethel Road where there's a big house that has 2 gigantic gorilla statues in the front yard, which you can see. Safety, please, this morning, everybody. Call stuff out and keep
That's Doug's shot on the right in the green.
Looking forward to it.
He and his brother Greg are here. We're gonna pick up Greg on the road. He's spinning around waiting on us. That's Maurice on the right in the white. Right there. And this is Dan Jaworski on the green. See, on the right. See the green helmet, green tape, green shoes. So you gotta pick your color and then outfit your machine and make your kit. Yeah, he likes that. That's a visible setup. Even the bottle.
Behind me says, Dan, it's not that cold. I had my stuff on from the morning, and it was Mauricio. And he was with his wife. So I started riding, and I started telling the story about Jerry getting the flat on and I matched up right just when he was finishing up. And his wife said, "Oh, everybody knows that." He said, I watched the film. And then Greg's Greg's comment, perfect, right? Oh, you got to get this on film. You got to get this on film to learn what not to do.
So what Dan was explaining there is that he was leaving work. It didn't come through, but he was leaving work and he ran into Mo and Mo's wife, Maurizio Topini. And he was letting them know that he had come across our group the day that we helped Jerry fix the flat. I think it was last week. And then Mo's wife told him, "Oh yeah, everybody knows we watched the film." So it was good to hear that the locals are watching this film. That's cool. But what he said was that he really liked the fact that Greg, who you were seeing a little bit,
Came around the corner, and exactly when Jerry was
yeah, Dan Jaworski had just happened around when Jerry was wrapping up the repair last week, and that was the ride where we chased the guy in the yellow. You would hear him ask that he really wanted to know who the guy is in a little bit. I told him I don't know the guy.
He's a narrator, but he's crazy. I still want to know who that guy is. The guy that in the yellow jersey, the short jersey.
Oh, the one who kept that were chasing. Yeah, I have no idea who he is, but he was pouring it on.
Yeah, he was.
I was like, these guys. I said, the challenge is on.
Yeah, this is the guy that passed the group, and we started to chase him.
You don't do that to us.
And so he said he really would like to know who the guy. The guy was riding pretty hard. I mean, we chased him and caught him, and he kept it up.
You see that?
But what I was explaining was that Dan was saying that he's on a ride and he just hears somebody say, "It's not that cold." You know, and it happened to be Mo and his wife. And then they told him, "Yeah, we know about Jerry's repair." That's Greg on the right. That's Doug's brother. He was the one that said I needed to record Jerry because Jerry was an example of what not to do when you repair a flat. Well, to Jerry's defense, how often do you really have a flat? Jerry doesn't have a flat that often. So you get a little out of practice. And that's understandable. That's actually a good thing. That means he's spending more time riding than repairing flats. Which is what you want. If you're having frequent flats, you got other issues. You shouldn't be having flats that frequently. Maybe once every 6 months if you're doing it right. If that. But it shouldn't be often enough to where you become an expert at repairing flats. One of our members in the group, Mark, who was given the route, he's been having flats fairly frequent in the last 3 weeks or so. He's had a flat every weekend, so I don't know what's going on there. But if you're having multiple flats frequently you need to check the equipment. Something's up. Something's either stuck in your tire, or something's up with the tire sidewall, the tire bead, or the wheel itself. Yeah, I'm not sure what Doug said, but we all Greg, that was Greg's shot. I don't know what he said, but we all laughed at it. Because a flat can put a damper in your ride, and Mark ends up having a flat again today. And as far as I can think, that's like the third week. And then I remember the week we went to Willis, he had 2. So yeah, he's having too many flats. Something else is up. Something's up with the wheel or something in there. We're on Research Forest here, of course. This is slightly downhill. As usual, I stay a little off so I can see around the riders in front of me. I'm not even pedaling, and I'm passing riders. The setup of your bike and the kit you wear makes a bigger difference than any kind of aero wheels or whatever you will have. I'm riding my Campagnolo Zonda wheels, and they're just a good all-around pair of aluminum wheels. They work really well. They're very quiet wheels. I really like using them. And I've got the Continental GP 4000S on there. That's another good all-around tire for training and competing, if you still dabble in that. That's a Turo on my right, and every week I meet a Turo. He wants to talk about the videos on the channel. I try to be polite, and I give him my ear, but when I come to ride, I really don't want to talk too much shop. I just want to ride. But he's excited about cycling. He's trying to get back in shape, and so I give him my ear and I let him talk and say what he wants to say. And a couple of weeks ago, he told me he changed his saddle just on the ride out of the blue. And all I asked was why. He said because the other one was killing him. He's trying to solve a problem, and hopefully he's making the right changes. A lot of riders try to fit themselves, and they end up taking years, sometimes a decade to get things corrected.
They will be back.
I was fortunate to have help when I used to compete, and then I used that and educated myself to get to where I didn't have to spend that much time getting comfortable. That's a Turo. We're chatting again. I checked the mirror. It's clear in this lane, and that's why you see me move over.
Just laid back. Nobody hassling you. Just come and ride.
We're talking about this group. Arturo said it's a great turnout. I told him, well, the group's laid back. There aren't too many rules other than just being safe. You heard Mark. Just be safe, call out hazards. That's it. That's what a group ride should be about. Just be safe, do your best, have fun, instead of restrictive rules that make no sense.
thousands of people watching you ride.
So he was saying that the turnout, yeah, this is an unusual turnout for this group. As long as we've been visiting them, I've never seen this large a turnout. And so it was very nice to see. But it shouldn't change how you ride, because regardless of the size of the group, you're riding with the riders closest to you. The main thing is that you stay close and stay near the front. Don't be the last guy, because the bigger the group, the longer you have to react when there's an acceleration at the front. So if you really want to be in the mix and you're fit and you want to participate, then you need to be near the front. You know, if you're not as fit and you're in the back, it really can be very hard when the group really goes from the front. That's what we've heard of the yo-yo effect, because you have to work so much harder from the back to respond to a big acceleration from the front, depending on the terrain, of course. But a lot of times on flat terrain, you can sit in and roll along at faster speeds with less effort. So what we're talking about here is that you have to educate yourself so that you're not misled, because not everybody in a sport may necessarily give you the correct information that will help you improve. So you're going to play a game, learn the rules. Don't go to the field of play to ask what the rules are. Learn the rules before you get out there. What I'm getting at is the fact that you're on this channel, you're in the right place. Learn about your sport or whatever activity you're in, and so you can prepare and you will have more fun. That's what Artur and I are chatting about. I'm trying to make sure I just stay with those guys up there. For some reason we're going faster than normal, and I think it's because of the size of the group and the makeup of the group. We never warm up this fast. And in a few kilometers you will hear Dan ask Paul, how long we're going to keep this up? I heard it on the clips, and Paul had mentioned that Dan had asked him, and you know, since you're in the group, the effort is, even though we're going faster, the effort makes sense. I mean, we're already in, like tempo right now. So yeah, we're riding faster than we normally do, but if you stay close, you stay in the draft, you get a better workout.
And we are so dialed in that one little thing is off.
Yeah, I was telling Paul my pedal was making some kind of noise. I hate noises from the pedal, because usually it tells you something's wrong. So I had to tweak that. I think when we did our extra loop is when I did it. See me pointing at the hole, just kind of wave Paul to the right, so we just went around the hole. But don't be intimidated by the size of the group. The mechanics are the same. You're riding around the people closest to you, and you don't overlap. And you know, protect your front wheel. That's your most vulnerable spot. So you see how all of us are in one lane? That's the way it's supposed to be. Don't spread out across the entire road. We're turning left, so we're all in the left lane. That was Mike S5. I don't know if you saw him. He rode over there to push the button, and he just came back behind us to make sure that the light changes, because a lot of these intersections are quieter, and they have these sensors that if a car is not here, it won't trigger. As we go through, the group is too big. This is FM 1488. The light has already changed, so I told them to be careful.
Come on, come on, come on.
The guy over there let us go because they can continue to go, so we go ahead and turn. So they thought that people had missed the light that we're stopping, and we're telling them to go. We're letting them know everybody's here. Some riders had pulled over to the right, so everybody's going now, so we didn't have to stop. But usually the group will wait when the group splits at the corner, so don't feel like you have to take risks to get through a light. If you catch the light, wait. If the group doesn't wait, let them go. Your safety is paramount. Most groups will wait when the group splits at an intersection like that. They'll wait on the after they get the ones that the people that get through will wait for the people that didn't, either by soft pedaling or stopping outright. We're headed westbound on 1488. Towards Mount Magnolia. This is a right turn lane, so we use the right turn lane. You see that line to the right? Even if you're riding solo, don't ride there. Ride where you see us right here, so that cars that are turning right can get behind you. Because if you stay far to the right there, they can cut you off. That's Doug's shot on the right that just came into the picture. I'm staying next to the white line on purpose because this road had gravel from the freeze, which has been cleaned off, just from use. But still, there's more debris to the right most of the time out here on these roads. But although I'm sitting next to the line, I am keeping my eye on the traffic in that lane. Most of them move over, but I still monitor it. The reason I do is sometimes you need to use the lane. You'll see we'll come across obstructions in this lane and we'll have to get on the main lanes. See that van or whatever moved over? They're supposed to give us 3 feet. Not everybody's aware of that. Not everybody chooses to do that, so you have to be aware. We are moving a lot faster than we normally move. We were doing 25. We're riding here between 25 to 27 miles per hour. My speedometer keeps flipping because of interference that I encounter in this section on this road every time I come out here. But this is faster than normal for this group. And all I'm doing is I'm making sure I stay in the draft because Paul and I have an 8-hour day today. We don't get out much during the week, so Saturday is our day when we can really get a very long riding. So our goal is to make sure we don't burn all our matches and hinder our long-term goal for the day. But this is a nice clip. We're moving 26, 27 miles an hour. And this is sustainable because like right now I'm in the top of zone 2 sitting in the pace line, so that means if I were to get to the front I could hold the pace. And the fact that we have 2 lines says we're really not going super hard yet. That's Dan on the left in all black, and he's the one that would ask Paul, how long are we going to keep this up? I think Paul said we do what we can or something. I don't remember what his answer was, but you'll hear him on the film. Because we have different skill levels in the group. Every group has that. That's the whole point of group cycling. But some people can tolerate more than others. I like riding with this group because all they want is for you to be safe, which I think every group should want. And they don't restrict you. You feel like going faster, go. If somebody wants to go with you, they go. And then they periodically regroup. So I think it's an ideal group. They ride, they do whatever they're in the mood to do. That's what it's about. This is not a job. This is Saturday, it's a day off, this is our hobby. You should be coming to have fun. Not people telling you how fast you can go, like some groups in the area, not the groups out here. We have a group we used to visit on the south. Well, I don't know if it's southwest. I guess more south than here in the Champions area, and they restricted the group to 18 miles an hour. That's the bike barn group. Well, so what happens on a day with a tailwind? Do we still do 18 miles an hour? So that means you're not going to improve. You're restricted to one speed. So that's the group that Robert LaPlante was kicked out of because he never followed the rule. And he's here and he's always pushing the pace, so that makes sense. He was riding with the wrong group. He got kicked out of the group. I laugh because I've never heard of anybody being kicked out of a group. Usually people leave. Robert. Robert overstayed his welcome, but it's good to have him here. This is the group for him. These boys just ride. Whatever their mood is, they just ride. They do crazy stuff like when WCC guys come around. That's the crazy fast group we call them out here. These guys will try to ride with WCC guys and then get dropped a few kilometers up the road. They would pick them up like homeless people. So Team RR they just ride, you know. The only rule of the group is be safe, and I think that makes sense. Come out and have fun. This the weekend. You're off work. Yeah, you don't need too many restrictions. So, that's the one rule for every cycling group. Just be safe. We want everybody to be upright, no wrecks, get home safely. That's it. What else you gonna ask for? That's it. Just ride. You feel like going fast, go. Somebody wants to go with you, they'll go. We'll form different groups on the road. So you see the gap to the guy in the Navy kit on the right. I think he's wearing a Rafa. I see that band on his arm. But nobody's behind his wheel, so whoever is on that side, they're catching a lot of wind. So if you're gonna do double pace line, you need to be like he is, behind another rider. Otherwise you're gonna catch a lot of wind. And that wastes energy that you might need. Especially when we hit Mount Magnolia, you'll see the splits. So we cruised this entire stretch around 25 to 27. My speedometer's flipping, but that's where it stayed. I stayed in an 84-inch gear there about most of this stretch. When it's steady like this, well, what I call steady, the road is relatively flat. Those of you who remember back in the day when we had the down tube shifters that were friction based, we just find a middle gear per se, a moderate gear, and leave it there. We weren't doing so much shifting all the time, especially on flat to rolling terrain. You just find a gear that you can spin up when you need to, you know. And for the most part, unless the terrain is changing or the speeds are crazy, that's really what we do here. Because all our gears here are pretty close. You go from like a 13 to a 14, a 15, 16. So you're either shifting one up, one down. You know, that's pretty much it. There's a car in this lane. You're not going to see it because the camera doesn't get a shot of it. He was sitting there, and then as we moved to use the main lane, we did check before going out there. I used the mirror. Then he started to go. So now we came back on the shoulder. But he was parked there with his flashers going. So we were going to pass him in the main lane. But then once he started pulling away, we just got back in there. That's what that was about. So look, 44 kilometers an hour. That's about 27, 28 miles an hour. You know, and whatever the conditions are right now, this is like top of zone 2 for me or whatever. So give very little emphasis to speed. Focus more on your effort. The conditions and the group here pushing the wind is allowing us to travel fast. I don't know who's at the front pulling this pace, but we'll find out soon enough, because They're not going to hold us up too long. We're going downhill slightly here. It says -2 here. There's a lot of debris, so I use the main lanes after checking. It's a lot of this crap on the shoulder, so we take the lane. My mirrors I adjusted to where all I do is I glance at my far end and I can see the traffic really well. So it may not look like, if you don't have a mirror, then you need to look behind you before you move into traffic. I think it's roadkill. There's something in the middle. I don't know if it's here where there's this debris. There's a section where we come across a dead possum or something. Somebody hit debris and they say, y'all call it. Well, even if they don't call it, when you're riding, you need to be looking around. You still need to pay attention. And I've already explained how I stay off to one side. You can see just slightly to where you can see around. You need to be able to see what's coming. Don't depend on people calling it. If somebody's up there on the limit, they don't have time to call anything. They're focusing on riding. So where I'm placed right now, I can see around. That's another reason I ride the hoods in the pack, and most riders do. That's Dan the man. I think Dan's already asked Paul here how long we're gonna keep this up, and Paul said we'll do what we can or something like that. And then Dan rolled up here. There is a hole on the left. I'm aware of it, and I'm going to let everybody know as we get closer to it to avoid it. It's a big hole. It's on the white line. That's the reflectors. You saw what I did? I moved over and pointed at the reflector. So now I'll move over to the right because I know the hole's coming on the left. That's one reason you always got to be looking. You don't have to know that something's there, but you've got to be able to see there. I'm pointing at the hole. I keep my hand there so they can know that something's there. You don't need to see it. You just move away from where I'm pointing. Dan's gonna hit something right there. So you gotta be careful. Those are the things that can cause punctures when you're hitting stuff. The road goes up here, about 2% or so, 2 or 3%. It gets there quickly, but it's short. Jerry's going up there. This time I didn't know what he was doing, but he went up there to slow everybody down because someone dropped a chain in the back. As I've mentioned before, dropping chains require adjustment to your limit screw, or if you're shifting under load from big to small, you can drop a chain. So if Jerry turned on this road, we don't know why we're stopping, and somebody will tell us.
Where are we going? I dropped the chain back there. Okay.
So I'm not sure who dropped the chain, but you will see the group coming. So there were gaps between the groups.
I dropped the chain.
Yeah, I heard it.
So I'm praying someone gets a flat.
I'm just sitting on the wheel.
I'm just kidding.
Jerry messing around because the last time he had a flat. So he said he's praying somebody gets a flat. But he gets his wish in a little while. He said he was kidding. He got in trouble with his wife. Something he said on screen. I had to go back and listen. Something about him getting the groceries or he's doing all the shopping. And she took offense to that because apparently it's not the truth. She said, what are you telling these guys? So I don't know. But what I heard was he said that she didn't want to go that day. And he was telling us that he had gotten COVID. He said she didn't want to go that day, and so he went. And HEB was the only place he went to that he think he got it from. That's what I heard. I didn't hear him say he does all the shopping, but I didn't listen to everything. I wasn't there when he was talking to Paul. Just was on the clips. So he said she was mad for 2 hours. 2 hours, it must be pretty tight if it was only 2 hours, so that's cool. That's what he's telling me right here. I don't know, my wife gets mad, it's not 2 hours. I gotta do a lot of work to keep the peace. So, I give you credit, Jerry. You guys are tight. That's funny. Yeah, my wife does most of the shopping at our house. I don't really like shopping that much. I like online shopping. That's Randy on the right there. I hadn't seen Randy in the parking lot because we're talking with Paul H. You know, it's good to see Paul H. Paul H in his 70s and he looks like he's 60. You know, if that. Fit, strong guy. Paul H comes out when he's in shape, pushes the pace in the group. The guy on the right on the aero bars, I didn't notice him riding until we got to Jackson. You will see when the pace got really hot because we didn't wait. There's a flat. Mark's going to have a flat in a little bit, and we just kind of kept spinning. We knew the group would catch up, and when they did catch up, he was at the front forcing the pace. So you'll see how it develops. It's pretty interesting. So when we stopped over there, there was a split when we started. You know, we're chatting with Jerry, and so about 5 or 6 riders are off the front there. That's a great shot on the right there as we begin Mount Mariah. And we're riding, let's see here, sweet spot for me, 200 to 300 watts, thereabout. Keep your eye on the wattage, because it's going to change, because in a little while, another rider will come. I think it's Victor. And then Jerry gets on his wheel. This is Greg on the right. Greg's riding faster and faster, so he must be feeling better. Greg's the one who had medication that was blocking him from pushing the pace. So that's Victor. He goes, and then Jerry gets on the wheel. So look at my power. 700 plus. Paulie Longa rides up, and we pass Bob. It's time to push. As Mo says, there's a time when it's time to push. Now it is. We're doing close to, I think, 40K. It's 25 miles an hour. And this is almost 3%. You know, GPS, not quite a cloudy day. Yeah, it's about 3%, and it's a long climb. You will see the gap. Paul's going to flip the camera around. We went pretty hard. The guys that are off the front are right there. They got a gap as we started. We weren't paying that close of attention. But we rode up to them. The watts go down because we're going downhill, but look at the gap. And there might be maybe 7 or 10 of us up here. The rest of the group is way back there. This happens in every group because of the different levels. Some people either choose not to go that hard, or they can't, or whatever. It's going to split, and then you guys can regroup. You don't have to restrict the people who want to push it. Let them push it, let them have their fun, and then you regroup, or you have different groups on the road based on A, B, C, whatever levels, and you ride to your main stopping point. So everybody gets to ride. Restricting the whole group to one effort level makes no sense. Even if it's a social ride, if people want to just open up the pipes a little bit when they're out there, let them have their fun. That's what it's about. And then you're a group that people look forward to coming to join. That's Mike S5 there. You guys know Jerry here. So Jerry got in trouble because he, I guess, told a fib or misspoke, who knows. And so he got that sorted. But what I heard was he said she didn't want to go that day. That's what I heard. But I haven't gone back to listen to everything, so. We're all different. People are sensitive to different things, so sometimes, you know.
I'll tell you, drink my bottle down, keep it locked. Good idea.
Yeah, I'm telling Paul that the bottle. Paul got me this bottle. I think it's a podium chill or whatever they call it. I like the way it works. I like the volume it holds. But when you hit a bump, it splashes on the frame. This is FM 149. At this point, that's Mark on my right. At this point, he doesn't know he has a flat. When we turn,
Yeah, it's also what is remaining in the nozzle.
Yeah, but even if it's nothing there, if you leave it open and hit a bump, then it splashes.
what I'm telling Paul, when I leave the bottle open, I find out if I hit a bump, the electrolyte splashes on the frame, because then you get home, your frame is sticky. And so what I do is when the bottle's full, after I take a drink, I lock it. And that has solved that problem. So I was just sharing that with him. Because we have the same bottles. So right here we turn, and the shoulder gets smaller. So right there is like a funnel. And I'm thinking, okay, that's why we're slowing down. Then Mark's going to discover that he has a flat. And this is what I was talking about. This is like 4 weeks in the last 5 or 6 I know of that he's had a flat. That is way, way above the norm. So, you know, if you're having that kind of frequency of flats, get the wheel inspected. Something's up. The tire, the bead, something's up.
Oh, thanks, man.
Is the arrow one?
Yeah, that's the arrow. Oh, yeah.
That's Doug Shot chatting with Paul about his kid. And he said that he has his eye on the arrow, he's watching it, something like that.
Thanks.
The arrow jersey. I like the fit. You can't wear them in the heat of summer, so now's the time. You know, spring, fall, all that kind of stuff. That's when you can use them. We found out now in a little bit, Mark's going to say he has a flat. I don't know if he's already said that.
I had this bunched up. I don't know. Somebody has an issue up there.
Yeah, this is where I heard Mark say flat. They're stopping. I'm going to look for traffic, and then I'm going to go around them. Because this shoulder is too narrow for all of us to stop. So we didn't wait. Paul and I kept spinning. We passed Jerry, and then we were up the road. And we're on Jackson Road. This is shortly before the group makes it back. That's Arturo behind Paul. This is Jackson Road. So I look back and I said, ride us up. I don't know if Paul didn't get me, because you hear him tell me the group's here. I see the group. And so I let him know, ride us up. We were holding between 18 to 20 miles an hour for the most part. So they probably had to ride about 40K, which is normally what they were doing on 1488 to get up to us. Now, this part of the ride really got heated up, because when they get to us, we're right at the base of this climb. This is climb number 1, and we got about 2 nice ones out here. I love this road. Look at that road in the distance. And he would tell me the group is here, where I can see them in my mirror. I downshift to keep my legs supple, because we've been riding for a while. He said that the group is here. You will see them come by. I'm gonna put an arrow on the guy at the front right there. He's rolling. I should have made the move here. This is where I messed up, because Bob lets a gap open. Bob right there in front of Greg, right there. That hesitation right there. You see, we're losing ground to those 4 or 5 guys. I'm not aware of it at this point. I'm thinking the group, you see, look at the gap already there. I can't see that right now. I'm just following Greg's wheel. People are weaving around because it's hard now. Riders are weaving. You get that in a group. All you got to do is protect your front wheel, keep moving. We're just riding here. That's Bob. He let that gap open, and that's what caused that thing right there. This is the guy who was at the front. He got dropped. So he was doing too much work, and when those guys twisted the screw, he couldn't hold it. He's spinning a small gear. It's time to push. Forget that. As Mo says, there's a time to spin, there's a time to push. It's time to push. That's how the WCC boys ride. They come up to a slope. They just keep riding like it's flat. You know, sometimes you gotta push. Look at the gap. So I'm just sitting. At this point, I see the gap, but you don't want to get too excited. I'm just sitting in and seeing what develops. They let the gap open, so let it ride back through it. They were all together when they got there. But what happened is somebody with experience in the front group twisted the screw, because usually when you catch another group, people let up thinking, oh yeah, we're done now. No, somebody went, and the guy who was at the front got popped. That's Victor. He got popped. He was one of the ones that pushed the pace up the climb. He always goes in a big gear, and then he can't sustain it. Now, I put this up here so you can watch the metrics. Look at the power. I'm in zone 4, like the bottom of zone 4, getting towards the middle of zone 4 for me, which is a good work zone. Basically close to race pace right now. The road levels off here. It's going to go slightly downhill, but this is hard because now we're going close to almost 28, 29 miles an hour. Mark gave up right there. Paul goes around him. I'm already gone. Look at my watch that would let you know. It's going to keep climbing. I'm up there. We open a gap. I wasn't aware of it, and I start to sprint up there. I move left to close the gap to the guys up front, because they weren't making much progress. I just went around and went to the front. You can see my watch, 5 something or whatever. But then at this point we're at the intersection, so I just turned off the power. I stopped pedaling. You see people all over the road. This was hard. So I'm doing this to see who's gonna come around, because the guys are right there that we're chasing. We're gonna be turning right. I look, nobody wants to come. When it's hard like that, no one wants to go to the front. That's a dog on the left. Those are the guys that dropped that guy who was pulling them. So we're gonna turn right. I'll go ahead and just turn. So I just want to keep going. And Dan Jaworski is up there with I've never got that guy name so far, the guy with the red bike. So I'll ride up to them so we can keep the pace. When I look back, I saw Paul. I was like, good, let's keep riding. So basically we're blocked. Since I did not make that move when I should have, we ended up getting blocked. But then when that happens, you just kind of roll with what's going on. But at that point when they came by, I figured the line would stay together. They looked like they had a nice impetus. But once they hit that climb, other people couldn't put down the power. So the gaps developed. The road goes up here. See how I'm treading in line next to that wide line? That keeps me in a position to where I can see around those guys. And all I do is I use my eyes and my hips to line up the bike. I'm staying really close because we're riding pretty fast and it's breezy. But I don't want the pace to let up. At this point, the group is all over the highway. We have split into 2 or 3 groups. We're all over the place, and you will see us regroup later. This guy backs off the pace, and I just go ahead and pull through. That's That's what you do. There doesn't need to be any communication. He'd been up there for a while. So I just pulled through. It's slightly downhill. That's why we're going so fast, but I'm keeping the effort about the same. And that's what you have to do. Focus on the effort, because once you get to the front, the wind is gonna hit you. And this part of the course, look in the distance, it's just kind of is sloping up. So it's gonna keep sloping. So you gotta pay attention to your gearing, because you're dealing with the slope here and you're dealing with the wind. So I keep the effort right around sweet spot, because that's really where it was when I took over. And I just keep my tempo the same. When the road spikes up, I will downshift and rev up to keep my legs fresh. My object here is to keep the pace going until we get to Mount Mariah. We don't need to be messing around this highway. The shoulder's small, group is big, we need to hold the pace line. The road's going up, that's why I'm on the tops. It just feels more comfortable for me. I go a little to the right to give Paul a better draft. The wind's coming from the right. So I move a little to the right. It's going to curve where that truck is, and it's going to go up. You can see it in the distance. It dips, then it goes up. You don't need to necessarily know the course. You need to ride based on feel. As you get there in the gear, and if the gear starts getting heavy, don't be shy. Downshift. Keep the rhythm going. Or stand. But in this situation, it makes more sense to just downshift, so you don't break up the smoothness of what's going on. I downshift there. You will see my cadence spike a little as the road goes up. It goes up here. It's a tight little bump. See, it says 2. It gets to like 3% in a hurry, and it backs off. But by downshifting, it allowed me to keep the rhythm going. And that's the guy who was pulling when I got through. And he got right back in. So the groups are split up. There are riders further back. That's Doug back there. And who else is that guy in the red shirt? I don't know his name, but there's Dan in the green helmet and green shoes. Dan's setup is very visible. I saw that car, he was moving over already, so I got in the lane, and after he was the last guy. So we're going to be turning, and I take the road. There's nothing behind us. There's no car behind us. I'm letting them know there are tracks. It's smoother than most. We turn left here, where that car is coming from. I run the credits here to thank our sponsors and our supporters, especially our channel members and patrons for supporting Veloharmony. We appreciate your support. You help us produce quality cycling films. We pull off to the side on both sides to let the riders come through so we can get everybody. I told Paul, I said, get everybody. He said, yeah. So as everybody comes through. Now, this is not the entire group, because we have split up on the highway. That's Greg. I think there's a couple of riders. Jerry's chatting with somebody back here.
But it had nothing to do with the ride.
And so, let's see.
Yeah, I'm scared. I'm wiping out.
Yeah, this is the last guy in this part of the group. There is another group back there. Once we turn on this road, the power is pretty much back off. Like right now it says 2-something watts. We've backed off the power. There's always going to be sections of your ride where people are not really going very hard. That's when you can drink, eat, whatever. You take advantage of those lulls in the pace to make sure you're ready for the next time it picks up. And so because of this, the other riders that were dropped, that's in Group B is going to catch up. A little bit Paul would film them. I was not aware of this until I saw the clips. Because right here, I'm just sitting in the group as we roll along. And you can see we have a split here to the rest of the guys. Well, there is an intersection up there that we're coming to. And that helps when you know the course. There is no reason to chase those guys or do whatever. That would be wasted energy. Because really, we're not really riding here. So don't always kill yourself to be at the front, especially when the power's off. Yeah, this guy is wearing a Rafa kit. He's got the Rafa Pro Team socks. He's got the full length one. Yeah, this is Group B catching up. So it was on. It was a lot of fun. But you have to prepare yourself to be able to participate in that, because if you overdo it, your legs can really just die on you. And you start pedaling squares when you spend too much time in the red zone. So you got to raise your ceiling with the proper training. So Jerry pulled over to the 11. He didn't look too great, so I asked him if he's okay, and he said yeah. He said yeah. So I tell Paul, I said, you look like he would have, Jerry has asthma, and he told us about it. So
Jerry looked like he was having trouble breathing. That's why I asked him.
Yeah.
So we split up here because those guys got through safely, we didn't. And so this is part of what we did on Saturday. Make sure you get out and keep those doctors far.